Hi, and welcome back. This time I actually have something planned to discuss, which is a little bit of my experience and something I would have wanted to hear when I was just starting with my architecture journey. I know a lot of us can be very confused about what architecture is. What do architects actually do? What will I end up doing? Or what am I supposed to do now when, let's say, I'm studying? Like, how can I better prepare myself for a good career ahead? And to sum it up, there is no right way or wrong way. It's just about what you'll like, what is it that you enjoy doing and you would want to keep doing for the whatever length your career will be. So I want to discuss a few points today, and just for reference, I graduated 2019 2020, so it's been a good 6 years of practice, and I believe I have enough input to give for the people who are still in university. Knowing myself, I was an overthinker. I still am an overthinker, but now I'm a bit more controlled. But before, I was just spiraling, like, especially when you want to do the right thing and when you listen to people and their advice doesn't align with what makes you happy, you feel anxious and disoriented. So, first of all, I want to bring up the topic about style. This is something very close to me because I chose architecture because of my love for art. And I know it sounds a bit like weird, but I did really enjoy art and like painting, sculpting, drawing. Like there was no specific part about art that I enjoyed doing specifically, and I was also good in school. So I was good with math, science, and critical thinking and logical thinking as well. So for me, art was something that I avoided learning because I felt the more I thought about studying it, the less it was authentic and the more it was just scientific. And I wanted to make it free and keep it free and keep it something on the side, like something I don't want to overthink and start putting logic into it. And architecture was something that I viewed as like the biggest sculpture you can ever do. And it's long, like it lasts for decades and generations, and people can appreciate it. It serves a purpose for the people passing outside, inside. It shapes cities and skylines and people's whole um, experiences and life. So I realized I'm more interested in the experience that is delivered to people and less interested in what I am doing. Like, is it the art, architecture, whatever it was? I was more drawn towards delivering an experience. And then the more I was learning about psychology and the way our brain thinks and functions, it all made so much sense about like how spaces inspire us or can make us feel threatened, and how we react to the space and how the space make us feel. So starting from that, I chose architecture, and then I realized from early on that I was drawn to a specific design language. It's more about like the fluid forms, complex geometry, and I viewed each building as a sculpture that you can dissect and experience from inside and outside. Um, and where I studied, that was not something that's appreciated. It was more about, no, like a building should look a certain way and should follow certain boxes, if I may call it. To be honest, I can't even call it codes because it was just boxes that you had to follow. And every time you step out of it, at some point, even like you have very little support from your supervisors because they're not familiar with this type of architecture because it's risky. It's risky to step out of what everybody appreciates. So I did get some support throughout the years, and this made it long lasting because the people who supported me and pushed me, um, there was a specific bond with them. It just like we both see something outside of the norm. And back then I was a bit anxious about my decisions, but now that I look at it, it's like I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, and that's my advice for you. You have to follow what you believe you're good at. What whether it's a specific style, a specific philosophy, a specific passion, but don't follow it throughout university. You have to challenge it in order to grow because following only your comfort zone throughout 5 years or something, that's very limiting. The only way to develop your own thoughts and your own design character is if you challenge it, and that's how you polish your talent, if I may say. So that's my first advice. And after that, I would advise you to do architecture competitions. So after university, I mentioned that I graduated in 2020. So that was the year of COVID. Everything stopped. I wanted to come to Dubai and I couldn't because everything was shut down. And between all of the desperation, I refused to give up. I refused to get a job and a safe job that most of the people around me were getting. And I refused to let depression take its toll on me. So somehow I found a competitions platform, and it's client based. So the clients are the people who launch the competitions, and they give you the brief and they pick the winner. So I would consider it as something that's very like it hard launched me to the professional life, and I did end up winning a few. The first competition that I won was something that I was very hopeless about because it was being kind of criticized, and throughout my university years for always choosing to follow my style unless it's not serving the project, like in the sense that if the brief doesn't mention I have to design a certain way, and if there is no specific budget, or if it like if I can still furnish it in a proper way, I'm still going to design with the style and design language that I see fits. And because architecture is very objective, I would sometimes get lower grades. And I carried this mentality. It's like people are not going to appreciate what I enjoy doing after university until I won this competition. And I saw how my submission stood out compared to the other people, even though I was working on it by myself and I was competing against other big offices. And yeah, I won. And that was like the highlight of my year. And after that, I did a lot of other competitions that were in different styles. And um, sometimes I would win, sometimes I would learn from the other people's submissions, the people who are experienced in specific design languages and specific um, design requirements also, and to see how they would uh, provide their submission, the drawings they would give, the renders they would give, the sheets they would submit. And yeah, so first I would say stick to what you enjoy doing. Don't give up on it. Just challenge it, polish it, and follow it whenever it fits and wherever it fits. Secondly, it would be you should do design competitions to polish your skills and to prepare yourself for the professional practice. And then thirdly, it's about softwares. So I would recommend starting with a software that's like learn the difficult things first. Don't I wouldn't recommend starting by learning Revit immediately because Revit is very limited when it comes to the freedom of design. I would recommend learning it as the second or third software. But the first, like from my story, the first software that I learned was 3ds Max. I know it's not conventional in today's Asian time, but I don't know who knows about 3D Max or Maya. It's kind of not built for architects. And in this way, it's very primitive, but it can make you reach like amazing results. And it has parametric tools, but it doesn't have coding. And I enjoyed sculpting these projects on it. And after that, when I learned Revit, I started blending the two together. So I would do like the floor plans or the core of the building on Revit, and then I would get the shell from 3D Max. And after that, in my professional life, I used 3D Max a lot, and I was one of the only few people, if not the only person at times, who was able to achieve these very complex geometries in such a short time. And you learn also in pre-concept and concept stages. You don't really have to have everything accurate to the millimeter. You just want to submit the idea. And even with that, the 3D Max results were sort of accurate. After that, I moved more towards Rhino, especially because Rhino started having the sub-Ds, which was something similar to the method I would use for designing with 3D Max. But then, if you were a Rhino user from the beginning, you wouldn't use the sub-Ds to its full potential. So that's how that helped also. And for rendering, just see where you enjoy putting your effort on. So if you enjoy producing the final images, put more effort into Photoshop, Illustrator, the rendering softwares, and all of that. If you enjoy producing more of like complex models and stuff like that, you can focus more on learning that. But ideally, you should have a balance between all softwares, because if you produce something that's very amazing, but it's only a model file, you do not extract the substance onto your final sheets, it's such a loss for you. Um, so yeah, InDesign, Photoshop. For rendering softwares, I would recommend Lumion. Lumion served me a lot because you can take good in-house renders and then even high-level animations from that. Enscape is very, very simple. If you know, I mean, Lumion is also very simple. I would always say if you played The Sims 4, you know how to use Lumion. So these are pretty much the softwares that I find to be useful. Like I learned in university, and then they were useful on the long run. So for the softwares, which is the third point, I would recommend starting with something a bit gives you more freedom when it comes to design, and it's a bit more complex, and then you can shift towards the software that you'll eventually end up learning, which is Revit. And learn as much as you could, but dive deeper into specific things and develop a workflow. Because if you keep focusing on knowing more about each software, and initially this is good, but then if you keep doing that and experimenting every time in the submission, this might be risky. So just develop a good workflow, and then after that, start experimenting with one of the softwares. Yeah. And I believe these are my 3 points for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Talk to you soon. Bye.